Imagine for a second, like breaking a plastic shelf bracket in your refrigerator.
Oh, that's the worst.
Right. Normally, you go online, try to find the manufacturer's website, and then you pay like $25 for a piece of plastic that probably costs 3 cents to make.
Plus shipping and waiting a week for it to arrive.
Exactly. You wait forever.
Right.
But what if instead you just downloaded a file, sent it to a machine sitting right there on your desk, and an hour later you literally held the exact replacement part in your hand?
It sounds like sci-fi, but I mean, it's happening right now.
It really is. So welcome to the Crafting Made Simple podcast. Today, we are doing a deep dive into the source material to look at how that exact scenario is completely upending traditional manufacturing. We're exploring the booming world of 3D printing specifically, how you can turn what looks like this, futuristic hobby into a highly lucrative side hustle.
Yeah, it really is a massive shift. I mean, we're moving from a world where manufacturing is locked behind these massive factory doors to a reality where the whole assembly line basically fits in your spare bedroom.
Which is wild to think about.
It is. And we have a fantastic roadmap for today's discussion. We are looking at a deeply researched guide by Na Ardua from the Paperflow Designs blog. It's titled 50 Best Crafts to 3D Print and Sell. And she actually bridges that gap between, the complex hardware and the practical steps of actually making a profit.
Which is what everyone wants to know. And before we get into the nuts and bolts of how all this actually works, I really want to invite you, the listener, to join our community. Make sure to sign up for the Crafting Made Simple newsletter so you never miss out on these deep dives. Just click the link in the description. It's https://birdsend.pageforms981blzres.
Highly recommend signing up for that.
Yeah, it's great. Oh, and also a quick note on logistics. A link to the specific supplies and machines we'll be discussing today can be found right in the podcast notes or over on the blog at paperflowdesigns.com.
Perfect. So to really grasp the business potential here, I think we first have to demystify the gear a bit.
Yeah, let's do that, because a lot of people still picture 3D printing as this highly volatile experimental tech.
Right, like you need an engineering degree in a sterile lab to make it work.
Exactly. But the startup toolkit Na Ardua outlines is actually incredibly straightforward. First, you basically just need an all-in-one 3D printer.
Yeah, and she highlights the Snapmaker Artisan as a really great example.
Right.
Because it's just so highly versatile. It's capable of handling everything from, simple flat signs to these highly complex interlocking puzzles.
And alongside the machine, what else? You just need your 3D design files, right?
Yep, design files, your filament, and just a really dedicated, sturdy work table.
Okay, so that filament part that is key to understand, I think.
Oh, absolutely. The most common type is PLA, which is polylactic acid.
Okay.
It's a thermoplastic, often derived from renewable resources, actually, like cornstarch.
Oh, wow. Cornstarch. I had no idea.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. So you feed a spool of this hard plastic wire into the printer, and the machine just melts it down, and then it essentially builds your object layer by microscopic layer.
So it's less like sculpting and more like, I don't know, like building a house brick by brick.
Exactly like that, except, the bricks are fractions of a millimeter thick.
That precision is just mind-blowing, and I think that's what allows for some of the wildest items on her list of the 50 best crafts. Like, the variety she mentions is staggering.
Oh, totally. She covers so much ground.
We're talking about Bellasong trainer butterfly knives, Turkish spindles for spinning yarn.
The spindles are so niche, but so smart.
Right. Custom city maps, katana swords, and these fascinating things called lithopane light boxes.
Ah, the lithopanes, those are really cool.
They just look like textured, bumpy white plastic panels at first glance, right?
Yeah, kind of like a mistake almost.
Exactly. But when you put a light behind them, the varying thickness of the plastic reveals a highly detailed, shaded photographic image. It's like magic.
It really is. But, I mean, the absolute most popular item she lists, the number one thing.
Oh, the dragons.
Articulated dragons.
I've actually seen videos of these dragons all over social media. They have like dozens of joints and spikes, and they twist and bend like snakes.
Yeah, they're everywhere. And they showcase a really specific capability of this technology called print in place.
Wait, so you're telling me the creator doesn't have to sit there and snap all those tiny ball joints together after it prints?
Nope. Zero assembly required.
Are you serious?
Completely serious. And that's what makes them so incredibly profitable. You see, the 3D modeling software allows the designer to leave a microscopic gap. We're talking often just 0.2 millimeters between the interlocking parts of a hinge.
Okay.
So the printer lays down the melted plastic so precisely that the hinge forms fully interlocked, but the plastic pieces never actually touch and fuse together.
Wow.
So the very moment that dragon comes off the print bed, it is fully flexible.
That is just incredible engineering. It's like having a digital Santa's workshop right in your spare room.
That's a great way to put it.
But, okay, let's unpack this for a second. Looking through this list, I do have to push back a little bit.
Yeah, go for it.
So, printing a dragon or a lithophane light box, that's cool novelty. I get that. But the guide also heavily leans into some really mundane things.
Right, like household items.
Yeah, like fruit baskets,
Yeah.
chopping board holders,
Yeah.
computer mouse covers. I have to wonder, are people really going online, paying shipping, and waiting for a 3D printed fruit basket when they could just grab a cheap plastic one from a big box store for $5?
It's a valid question, but it really comes down to the psychology of customization.
Okay, how so?
So yes, you can buy a generic mass-produced earbud case or a utensil caddy basically anywhere. But Nardua's strategy around what she calls useful things relies on the bespoke nature of the technology.
Oh,
The most lucrative items are often those everyday household organizers, cup holders, hairdryer holders, desk trays, but they're modified to exact specifications.
oh, okay. So it's not just a generic stand. It's a stand perfectly measured for my specific brand of electric toothbrush.
Exactly. Or, a big box store cannot offer a specialized riser for a Cricut Maker craft machine that's printed in the exact specific pastel color scheme to match a customer's craft room.
Right. Target definitely doesn't have that.
They don't. They can't offer a customized name pen on demand either. Traditional manufacturing, it relies on making a million identical objects to keep the costs down.
Yeah.
But 3D printing thrives on making one highly specific object. The value proposition isn't just utility, it's getting exactly what you want.
Okay, that bespoke gap in the market makes a ton of sense.
Mhm.
So if we know what to print and why people actually want to buy it, I guess the next logical hurdle is actually getting these things into the hands of buyers.
Turning a profit, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
And the pool of buyers is apparently expanding rapidly. The guide cites some really staggering data from Grandview Research.
Yeah, the market size is huge.
They valued the global 3D printing market at $16.75 billion back in 2022. But the crucial metric they point out is the projected growth. The market is expected to expand at a 23.3% compound annual growth rate, or CAGR, from 2023 to 2030.
Which is astronomical.
Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't spend their days reading financial prospectuses, what does a 23% CAGR actually look like in practice?
Basically, it means the industry's revenue is compounding so quickly that the entire market is essentially doubling in size every 3 to 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah, the demand is just accelerating.
That is a massive wave to ride. But I guess it brings us to a classic business dilemma, right? Where do you actually set up your storefront to catch that wave?
Right, the sales channels.
Yeah, the guide breaks down two main channels. First, you have the big online marketplaces like Etsy or Amazon.
Which have pros and cons.
Right. It's basically like setting up a booth
Mhm.
at a crowded, incredibly popular farmer's market.
Yeah, the foot traffic is guaranteed there. I mean, millions of people are already typing custom earbud case into that search bar. So your marketing costs are almost zero because the platform brings the buyers directly to you.
True. But you're also surrounded by, like, 50 other booths selling the exact same custom cases.
The competition is definitely fierce.
Yeah, and you have almost no ability to build your own distinct brand. And honestly, worse than that, the platform has all the power. They can suddenly increase their transaction fees or change their search algorithm, and your business just takes a massive hit overnight. You have absolutely no control over fee increases.
Which is exactly why the alternative she mentions is building your own standalone website.
Right, so to keep the analogy going, that's like opening a standalone boutique on a quiet street.
Exactly.
If a buyer is on your site, there is zero on-site competition. You control the customizable branding, you build the customer email list, and you get your choice of payment processors to keep your fees low.
But the Quiet Street has a major cost. You bear the entire burden of getting people to actually walk through the door.
Right, the marketing.
Yeah, you have to shoulder those advertising costs, you must find your own customers, manage your own SEO, and then you have to navigate the headache of handling your own sales tax for different regions.
Ugh, sales tax. Okay, but let's say someone listening wants that control. They want the standalone boutique. But they're looking at their bank account right now and thinking, I have absolutely no capital to buy inventory or run massive ad campaigns. Is this just a non-starter for them?
Not at all. And this is one of the most fascinating strategies outlined in the source.
Yep.
You can scale with zero upfront inventory cash.
Oh, really? Zero money.
Yep. If you set up a storefront on a platform like Shopify, you can utilize print-on-demand plugins. This means you only actually pay for the materials and the production after the sale, after the customer has already paid you for the item.
That is so smart.
And it gets better. You don't even need to know how to use complex 3D modeling software yourself. You can just hire freelance designers on platforms like Fiverr to create your product plans.
Or, and I love this concept, it is so elegant, you can skip manufacturing the physical goods entirely.
Selling the files.
Exactly. You can just sell the digital STL files for passive income. The STL is basically the digital blueprint that tells the printer what shape to make. You pay a designer once to create a brilliant custom file, and then you sell that digital download infinitely.
Pure passive income.
Right. You never touch a spool of filament or print a physical shipping label, you just sell the file.
It's such a fantastic low barrier entry point. But okay, let's assume you do go the physical route.
Okay.
Say your marketing clicks, your customized household organizers go viral on TikTok or something, and suddenly you aren't getting 2 orders a week anymore. You're getting like 10 or 20 orders a day.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Your single Snapmaker artisan printer literally cannot physically melt plastic fast enough to keep up.
So you are officially suffering from success. The backlog is building up. What do? Because you can't just drop $10,000 instantly on a warehouse full of new machines.
Right, so you outsource the printing services. When orders scale to that volume, the guide explains how you plug into professional networks. Companies like Shapeways, they operate massive industrial print farms for print on demand.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and there's also Sculpteo, who offer a really streamlined 3-step process. You design, they print it to industrial standard, and you receive it. They even offer laser cutting if your products require mixed materials.
That's amazing. And the guide also points out it isn't just massive corporate factories offering this either. Even established Etsy shops offer outsourced 3D printing.
Yeah, print farms run by everyday people.
Exactly. And they can fulfill orders for you in incredibly diverse materials that a desktop printer might struggle with. Materials like color play A, carbon fiber, marble textured plastics, or even wooden fused filaments.
Which is a great way to expand your catalog. However, scaling your operation like this naturally increases your exposure. Once you start dealing with high volume and diverse files, you start running into some real legal landmines and physical limitations of this industry.
Yes, the legal side of this is fascinating because the technology literally makes it so easy to replicate things.
It's almost too easy.
Right. And the guide gives a very stern warning about copyright infringement here, specifically mentioning the huge temptation to knock off designs from a, let's call them a popular lovable mouse.
Yeah, we all know Disney has a notoriously aggressive legal department. Don't mess with the mouse.
Exactly. But here's where it gets really interesting to me. Let's logic this out. If I go to an online marketplace, I find an amazing STL file created by an independent 3D artist, and I pay them $20 to download it. I bought the file, right? It's on my hard drive. Doesn't that mean I can just print that physical object and sell it on my store forever?
No. That is a very widespread assumption, and legally it is entirely incorrect. You really have to use critical thinking and check the specific terms and conditions attached to that file. Some sellers only grant a personal use license.
Oh.
That means you can print as many copies as you want for your own home or to give to friends as gifts. But the second you list that physical print for sale, you are violating copyright law.
Because I only bought the right to use the blueprint, not the commercial permission to manufacture and profit off their intellectual property.
Exactly. You need commercial permission. Now, some designers will offer a commercial use license, maybe through a monthly subscription or a higher upfront fee, but Na Ardua points out that it's also an ethical issue, you know?
Right.
Selling protected work directly harms the original creator's ability to profit from their hard-earned money. It undermines the artists this whole industry relies on.
So, read the license, pay for commercial rights, and don't steal from artists. Very clear boundaries.
Yeah.
But what about the physical limitations? What cannot currently be 3D printed according to the source?
Well, the current consumer tech has some strict limits. First, while we talked about those print-in-place dragons, really complex moving parts like intricate and closed gears are still incredibly difficult to achieve reliably.
Because the tolerances are just too tight.
Yeah, if they are off by a fraction of a millimeter, the layers fuse inside the mechanism and the part is totally ruined.
What about materials? We mentioned wood-infused plastic earlier, but you can't just print a solid oak chair.
Right. You are bound by certain specific materials. The machine's mechanism relies on melting. Pure natural wood doesn't melt, it burns. So no pure wood. You also can't 3D print fabric.
Okay, that makes sense.
And you're also limited by objects requiring extremely high precision. Plus, obviously, objects that are simply too large for the printer itself.
Right, you can't print a car on a desktop.
Exactly. And finally, items requiring specialized molding or casting processes just aren't suited for this.
Got it. So we know what's legally and physically possible. Let's talk about the actual physical reality of running a 3D printing business from your home. Any ambitious crafter wants to maximize their profit margins. What are the practical tips from the source for keeping costs low?
Well, the simplest tip is to buy filament in bulk. Drive that cost down.
Sure, economies of scale.
Also, when you're prototyping a new design, make smaller prototype sizes. Print a mini version first to use less material and make sure the design actually works.
That is really smart.
And the biggest material saver, design objects to be hollow on the inside. You configure the software to print a solid outer shell, but a hollow, honeycomb-like structure on the inside.
Oh, wow. So it stays structurally strong, but it's mostly empty air inside?
Exactly. It drastically reduces your material costs per print.
Okay, so we are buying in bulk, we are printing hollow honeycombs, we are being hyper efficient. So what does this all mean for the ambitious crafter who wants to fulfill orders 24/7? Can you just load up a spool, start a massive print, and go to sleep? Let the machine work the night shift?
Okay, this is where I have to deliver a really crucial safety warning from the guide. The definitive answer is no. You absolutely cannot sleep on the job.
Wait, really? Why? It's an automated process.
It is automated, but think about how it works. Extruder nozzles heat up to extreme temperatures. We are talking between 180 and 300 degrees Celsius.
Wow. Okay, so that's roughly, what, 356 to 572 degrees Fahrenheit?
Yeah, it's hotter than your oven when you're baking. It poses a severe burn hazard. And the source explicitly advises against printing while sleeping because unattended machines can jam.
And if it jams while it's that hot?
Exactly. The machine doesn't always know it's jammed. It keeps applying extreme heat, trying to push plastic through a blocked nozzle. It can easily catch fire, becoming a major safety hazard.
That is terrifying. So you really can't just set it and forget it.
No. If you absolutely must be away from the immediate area, the guide says you need to use webcams or remote monitoring systems to keep an eye on the operation. Have a smart plug so you can kill the power instantly from your phone if you see smoke. Safety has to be the priority.
That is a vital reality check.
Right.
Well, we have covered incredible ground today. We went from setting up a snapmaker artisan to print everyday organizers to navigating this billion-dollar 23% KGR marketplace.
We really went through it all.
We did. We covered respecting IP licenses and safely managing those 500-degree nozzles. It is a comprehensive look at an industry that is actively democratizing how things are made.
It absolutely is.
And before you head off to start your 3D printing empire, make sure to sign up for the Crafting Made Simple newsletter so you never miss out on these insights. Just click the link in the description, https://birdsan.pageforms981bozol-yefses.
Yeah, please do. And, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final overarching question to ponder. Considering this industry is growing at over 23% a year, think about the objects around you right now.
Like your desk, your kitchen.
Exactly. In a few years, will you still be driving to a store to buy plastic organizers and spare parts? Or will downloading a file and printing your physical world right on your desk become as normal as printing a document?
It completely changes how we think about the supply chain of our own lives. Thank you so much for joining us on today's exploration of the sources on the Crafting Made Simple podcast. We'll catch you next time.